Well, welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast, joined by Bill, Halil, EJ. It is a beautiful Wednesday evening here in Central, or I guess I'm in Southwest Ohio. So spring is in the air. The NFL draft is 7 days away. We're going to be going through some first round options for the Commanders, Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles. But before we get going, EJ, it is good to see you on a Wednesday. And how are things?
Everything's good. I'm feeling pretty good. Got good weather here in Philly, so I got no complaints.
Cool. Halil, burning the midnight oil in Austria. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me again. Just said I'm working through my list, last couple of players, really grinding out some deep cuts and getting the final preparations done for the draft.
Okay. And Bill backstage was showing us his 2026 draft board of 260 players already. Bill, what else have you been doing?
Just getting ready for the 2025 draft. We're less than a week out at this point. Very excited. Grinding for 2026 already. Already setting up my big board as it sits. Like you mentioned, 265 players. Can't wait to deliver a 2026 cycle with you here at the Draft Professor. In addition to that, before we get too deep into things, let's do a little housekeeping. First off, make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, hit that notification bell so you get subscribed when we go live with daily draft content. Sometimes we double down on the content. Make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, you also leave a comment. Tell us how we got it right. Tell us how we got it wrong. Tag your friends, tag your enemies, tag us. Tell us what we're doing. Make sure you follow our lovely moderator, Jim, over on X. That's NFL Draft Fanatic, no I in Fanatic. You can also follow EJ over on X at eJunkie215. You can follow me on X at Spark Scouting. And Halil, you can follow him over on X as well. I'll let him plug his channel here in a second. You can also follow me over at twsn.net, where I'm a writer and analyst for NFL and NFL draft things related. Halil, where can the people find you out on the socials?
So yeah, on X or Blue Sky, you can find me under at Halil's FB Talk. So like football FB Talk, and then everywhere else under Halil's Real Football Talk. So Instagram, YouTube, and my site, halilsrealfootballtalk.com.
Love it. So tonight we're using Jim's mock draft simulator at draftprofessor.com, which is the best NFL draft simulator out there, hands down. Don't care what anybody says. It's the best one. I'm not lying. I wasn't paid for this advertisement. I'm telling you. And we're going to do a first-round Fanatic challenge for the final four teams, the Commanders, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Eagles. And, Jim, I think you wanted to kick it off with Washington tonight.
Absolutely. So if you've been following the channel, you know that we have done these for nearly every team in the draft order. We have the final four, and then tomorrow I think we're going to circle back and start at like 5 or 6. So we're going to keep doing this. Just to get more people's input as to what they think will happen. So the way that you do this is you pick the team, and then it's a first-round Fanatic challenge, check the box, and we're going to start. A first-round Fanatic challenge is 5 unique one-round mocks, okay? So the simulator is going to go through and it's going to do a one-round mock, okay? And I'll run through the players that were taken. This does get to be a little bit predictable. So meaning that the mock draft that I have here will be the same that EJ, Halil, and Bill do, unless there is that fanatic that we're looking for that's doing mock drafts while we're podcasting. So this mock is Ward, Sanders, Hunter, Carter, Graham, Genty. I don't know if that surprised anybody. Membu, Walker, Stewart, Johnson, Harmon, McMillan, Barron, Warren, Green, Grant, Nolan, Campbell, Izaraku, the other Campbell, Golden, Starks, Michael Williams, Emmanwori, Simmons, Loveland, Burden, Scourton. Okay, so if I'm the Commanders and this is the board, the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to look at corner. And one of the reasons I'm looking at corner is they had to acquire Lassiter at the trade deadline last year. I think this is a pretty big need for them. So to me, the medicals are in on Benjamin Morrison. So if Morrison's there this late in round one, my opinion is that he would be the pick. And then medicals were also back on Revel. So to me, if he's there, that's an easy pick. So those first two for me seem to scream value. I would think that Morrison and Revel are going to go a lot earlier than that. So the simulator's pretty smart. So I have already picked Morrison and Revel. So now we're in my third one-round mock. The simulator makes sure Morrison and Revel are off the board. So now I have to say, okay, well, what would they do? Now, if Josh Simmons falls, he's sitting at the top of the board. That makes a lot of sense. So I'll do Josh Simmons there. And then I saw that Izaraku dropped. So I'm curious if he dropped again. So this time, Morrison, Revel, Simmons are off the board. If Izaraku dropped, I think that's the pick. And then I'll go check the board to see what's there. But like I see Luther Burden here, and I also see Golden here. So I think it would come down to which receiver do I think is rated higher. I'm going to go Burden here. But I wouldn't scream if you told me that you wanted Golden at this point. So my 5 were Morrison, Revel, Simmons, Izaraku, and Burden. I got 2 A+. So if you get 5 A+, I want you to take the screenshot, post it to Twitter, email it to me, and do some jumping jacks, because getting 5 A+ on this, which means that you grab the top player every time, is not easy. So EJ, I'm going to put you in the driver's seat here for the Commanders. So what do you think their team needs are, and what players do you think fit the Commanders based upon the board?
I'm looking at corner first off, because I know they traded for Marshawn Lattimore, but they can get out of that. That contract is not long term. He's making $18 million in 25, making $18 million in 26, and that $18 million 26 is not guaranteed. They can cut him after the 2025 season and not owe him any money at all. So who knows if he's there long term or not. So I would look at cornerback. I would look at edge. I would look at edge rusher for them. To get some more pass rush going on. I know they traded for the kid from the 49ers.
Debo.
But yeah, Debo. But I'm looking for a little bit more at the wide receiver position. You need somebody, because Debo's going to work the slot. I mean, I'm not in love with him as an outside receiver, so I would like to add another outside receiver if possible. So who's the best on the board right now?
So right now, Azare Thomas has been mock drafted to Washington a few times. You can see that because he's sitting up at the top. Yeah. So draft professor users agree with you. Corner is the need.
It's the need.
What corners on your board, EJ, are in the range at pick 29?
Pick 29. This at Thomas, Revel, Benjamin Morrison, Maxwell Hairston, actually, and Trey Amos. Those 4 right there, I look at them as borderline first round, early second round picks. So when you're at this point of the draft, you're really not going to draft somebody that has a true first round grade. So usually you're getting a second round grade player. So I'm looking at, for what Washington wants to do on defense, you can live with Azare Thomas. Because you got Quan Martin, who has range on the back end. You got Marshawn Lattimore. Both of them can play man coverage with that backfield defensively right there. You can line up and play man coverage, and especially with Azare Thomas, he's got the physical strength and ability to at least put up a fight against a player like a AJ Brown, who's going to body, who's going to try to outmuscle you. You got a player like Azare Thomas that he's going to see twice a year. Maybe he can make life a little bit harder for him. So Azare Thomas.
So if Thomas is off the board, what do you think they would do?
Let's see. So their offensive line, Josh Simmons, their offensive line it was better, but it's nothing spectacular. They could always go better at the offensive line position. So I would say, all right, next one. Oops, gotta be. Ooh, so I'm looking at either Ezeraku or Scourton, one of them.
Who's higher for you?
For me, I would take Nick Scourton. I'll take Nick Scourton.
And I know Bill's really high, like 5th on your board, right?
Yeah,
Yep,
like he's
overall.
Yeah, he's a player. He's a plug and play edge rusher. You don't have to worry about him for his entirety of his rookie contract.
Here's a good one for you: Ezeraku or Burden?
Luther Burden. I don't even got to think about it. Luther Burden.
Okay. See, some of these are easy. Depending upon what your board is like, some of these are easy.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
Ezeraku is still there. Would you take Revel or Morrison over Ezeraku?
I would. No, I'll take Ezeraku. I think you still need. I value the trenches even more. So
EJ,
was
one player short of 5A pluses.
Man,
classic.
Okay, Halil, you are up for the Commanders. So EJ has set the bar high because he got
for sure, yeah.
4A pluses. What are you thinking, Halil?
Yeah, so I kind of started my blueprint for my final mock draft, which I'll probably record on Sunday. And the one I ended up with here was South Carolina safety Nicky Monwari. I think he typically comes off the board early here, and based on the betting odds, seems to be a lock for the first round. Personally, I'm a little bit low on him, but I think if he makes it to 29, then Quinn kind of has that experience with those big safeties, dime backers, which we tried to bring in Jeremy Chin last year for that role. And then we already talked about corner. I think Trey Amos from Ole Miss, Hairston, or Revel, we've already discussed. If they're comfortable with his medicals, kind of all bring different skill sets to the table. And as we saw for them last year, kind of experimenting early in the year with the different coverage menus. So this selection kind of could give you an indication of which direction they're leaning. And I also won't rule out wide receiver. Deebo Samuel, as you talked about, kind of a one-year gamble with all the screens and the yak stuff that they do in the RPO game. And outside of Terry McLaurin, they have a bunch of role-playing number threes. So maybe if a Matthew Golden from Texas, if he makes it here, or more of a big-bodied guy like Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, I think that could make a lot of sense.
Yep. And you wouldn't be the first one to like Higgins. Notice how high Higgins is on the Commander's board here. Rick, so Higgins is actually higher than Igbuka here. And higher than Iowa.
I'm going to tell you, he's my wide receiver 4.
Yep. So, So with the board like this, Halil, where are you going first?
So could you click on safety for me?
Yes.
If Monwari is still here.
Watson, Winston. Monwari went 24th.
Personally, I like Kevin Winston Jr. He's my number 2 safety. But I think I'm going to go back to the big board if you can show me. I mean, they could definitely still go tackle if they have a conversion candidate. They like a Calvin Banks because what's the right guy called? I can't come up with his name.
Sam Cosmi.
Sam Cosmi, exactly. Who was one of the best guards in football last year, also from Texas. So that's kind of the Calvin Banks connection there. I think he suffered a torn Achilles, or at least some major injury, so he's probably not going to be ready for the start of the season. Personally, I have Connell a little bit higher, but Banks has the flexibility to start out at guard. And depending on how long they want to keep Laremy Tunsil around, if they just traded for, I think I'm going to go Banks at first.
Okay. I was typing a message. There we go. So Banks. Okay, so if Banks is off the board, what do you think the Commanders would do?
Yeah, I'm going to look at corner here as well. See who's on the board first. I mean,
so Josh Simmons
yeah, which is a bit wild, because maybe with him you have that flexibility at the start where you don't have to put him out there right away. I think he's on tape, like what he put out last year. If he finished the full season, he might be offensive tackle 1 in this class. And that's another one of those. You got to be comfortable with the medicals there. I think I'm going to grab him here. And this is not, if Washington looks at this as a short-term investment, generally, if they trying to push this window, which is kind of understandable with the rookie quarterback, but as you look for the roster, they still have a little bit of a way to go. And I would not try to sell out to just fill holes here, but rather get the best players. And Simmons, to me, is going to be a top 15 player overall.
Okay. So Banks and Simmons are off the board. What do you think they do?
Yeah, I think we're going to go with Izaraku as well. They could still use some help on the edge. I think that's a guy that they would like under Dan Quinn. A guy that can win a bunch of different ways and really win the outside shoulder of tackles.
So Banks, Simmons, Izaraku are off the board. What do you think they do?
So they're not giving me any corners, are they?
So Revel, Morrison, Hairston, Amos are all there.
Okay. So Benjamin Morrison would be my highest available, but another one of those where you have the hip injury, kind of don't know.
Oh.
If
you told me, I picked him.
I would have probably, just the cleanest one there would have probably been Amos for me. And now he's probably not going to be available. But so
between
number 5 for me
Burton,
then.
Thomas, Revel, and Amos is still there.
So
what do you think
I would have last time taken Amos, but let's go with Meth. I personally also have Luther Burden quite a bit higher than Matthew Golden. But in terms of skill sets, how to complement each other, I think Golden can play the Z. I think you can put him on the line of scrimmage to some degree if he can work on his release game. But you talked about Debo kind of locked into the slots. I think I'm going to go Matthew Golden here in this spot. I think he's a guy that would make a lot of sense.
Okay. And sorry about that. Like, usually as soon as somebody you talk about the players you don't pick, and that threw me. So that was my fault on that one.
No worries.
I have a quick trigger finger. Okay. Bill, what are your thoughts for the Commanders with the way this board is falling right now?
Yeah, so EJ and Khalil hit on a lot of the needs. Edge is obviously a big one. When you have Cleveland Farrell in an edge rusher role at any point in your career, you need an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Corner's a problem somewhat. Saint Still is a nice piece in the slot, but he just doesn't have the size to stick outside full time. A couple other sneaky needs that people aren't really talking about: running back Brian Robinson Jr. in the final year of his deal. And also linebacker Bobby Wagner is getting up there in years. So if I'm taking a look, the value isn't here at linebacker. If we look at running back, the value is certainly here. I'm going to go outside the box. We're going to Marion Hampton here.
I was about to say, Marion Hampton fell that.
Let's go.
Marion Hampton fell that far. You got to take him.
Yeah. And I think it's a little bit shocking because people think, well, there's still Austin Eckler behind him. But again, I reiterate, there's Austin Eckler behind him. So you need something there. But so if we go running back,
he might not crack 5 seconds on the 40 at this point.
I don't think he can. You're right. Let's take a look at edges here, because obviously I just talked trash about Cleveland Farrell, and I can't in good conscience go without an edge. So I'm going to go with a guy who I was going to say I'm going to go with a guy that I have comped with Bradley Chubb, who has the nastiest spin move in this entire class. Give me Princely Umanmielen here for the Washington Commanders.
Yep. I like it. See, we're getting some new names. Like, I like this. Already, Bill's dug deep into the board and found 2 guys we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah. So number 3, obviously we have to go with my number 5 overall edge, even though I just took one and Jim highlighted it. It's Nick Scourton. I know there's concerns about his weight and people thinking he plays a lot lighter. I encourage you to go back and watch the Purdue tape where he played at 6'3", 240. He's at 260 right now. You're going to get that same explosive player from Purdue in this year's draft. So we've gone double downs on edge. We've gone a running back. At this point, I'd be remiss if I didn't go corner. And
even with your number 1 receiver there.
even with my number one receiver there, because the
Got it.
concern is Debo and Burden play the same role like EJ and Halil
Mhm.
talked about.
Mhm.
So,
Got it.
but we will go with my number 3 overall corner, who has a first round grade for me, medicals be damned, which they have come back clean from my sources. It's Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. And then if all 4 of those guys go, now I'm sitting here at pick number 29 for the Commanders. Let me take a look at the linebacker board one more time.
Look at that.
I knew it.
What's
Yeah.
going on here?
Mhm.
Give me Jihad Campbell from Alabama as a Bobby Wagner replacement,
Mhm.
folks.
Slam dunk.
So I absolutely love how you guys covered that. Like that's the and when I designed this functionality, I designed it for podcasts just like this. So Halil, we will put you on the clock for the Buffalo Bills.
For your
So-
Bills. Okay.
Yeah, pressure's on. No.
Mm.
I was say pressure's on. If you don't do good, he's going to kick you off the show.
Well, and we have EJ doing the Eagles here last, so you know
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the pressure's going to be on for a couple of these. But
Oh yeah.
But Halil, how does your board match up to what you think Buffalo needs? And you're also allowed to ask what Buffalo needs, but I'm going to let you take control here.
No, I think I'm good. So the first thing I'd be looking at is interior D-line. I think clearly the way to go. I could easily see them actually get aggressive here and trade up for a Kenneth Grant from Michigan or Derek Harmon from Oregon if they fell, kind of make it into the 20s because they need those difference makers on defense. As a unit, they've been so good on that side of the ball generally, but kind of those star players they've been missing to some degree. And either one of those guys being able to occupy blocks next to that, Oliver is more of a gap shooter. Harmon kind of gives you more of that pass rush upside. So I don't see him on the board right now, but just kind of talking through it because I think that's kind of the purpose of the exercise as well. Some guys they could be looking at. That second outside corner spot to go with the recently extended Christian Benford. So the reunitement with Dane Jackson, who they brought over recently again, provides him some depth instead of actually needing him to be a full-time starter. So all one. You, Jim, recently mentioned Iowa State's Darren Porter from Iowa State, who you said you wouldn't be shocked if they took him in the spots, but another long pressman corner from more of an off-zone defense. The system they really not learn with Kirill Elam was my thought there. Kind of want to put down, and they do want to play a bit more man on third downs, but still in terms of a schematic fit, maybe not that one. And yeah, a fun one here would definitely be someone like a Luther Burden, gave some juice to that receiving corp, along with Khalil Shakir, where they can kind of be interchangeable, how to use them between the start and the Z. Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer is your most sacrificial X receiver on the backside of the formation, as Matt Harmon from Reception Perception often calls it. Yeah, so let's look who's actually on the board.
So let's also make an observation. So all that work we did for the Commanders, Benjamin Morrison is now the top player on their board.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've already modified whatever the mock draft is that a user at the site gets. They're already going to get a new one because we've made Morrison be the top player for the Commanders. So good job, everybody.
Thank you.
So the corner board, Amos, Revel, Thomas, Hairston, still there. The receiver board, Higgins, Igbuka, Io Manor. The defensive tackle board, Tyleek, Alfred Collins, Darius Alexander. The edge board, Princely, Landon Jackson, Braden Swinson, and Josiah Stewart, as well as James Peters.
Oh, he's low down there.
Mm.
Well, first of all, I would love this because I really wanted to get a D tackle here, and I do like Alfred Collins in that role that they could need from him, but it's a little bit rich for me at the end of the first. So what I think I'm gonna do here, top guy on the board, I think we're gonna go Trey Amos, guy who can really pattern match and play in that off-zone style defense. If you want him to play man, he has that quick trigger, the reaction skills to see what's happening in front of him and trigger on it. So I kind of like that.
Okay. So if Amos is off the board, what do you think Buffalo's going to do?
So can you show me receiver real quick?
Higgins, Igbuka, Io Manor.
Okay, so I don't get a Luther Burden, who would be a really fun addition to this offense.
He's going to the Lions at 28.
Oh, damn it.
Mm.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with I think I'm just gonna go with Ibuka, best receiver left on the board. I think another guy who can play the Z or can play the slot. So kind of the thing with I just talked about Khalil Shakir.
Okay, so if Amos and Ibuka are off the board, what do you think Buffalo does?
I think I'm gonna let's take receiver. Let's get them another one of kind of a different type there with Jaden Higgins. I think he makes a lot of sense when they want to get a little bit more juice out of an outside receiver. A guy can really separate, and when you put the ball in his hands, he can do something with it.
So this time, Burton.
this time I get Luther. I didn't think I was going to go triple receiver here. That's the question. If I want to do that, but since I don't,
It's okay. I mean, if that's the way, right? This is about five different options, 5 unique one-round drafts. So
yeah, I think I'm just going to do it if I get him this time, and then let's change it up a little bit for the last pick here.
Okay. So the last one, we will have Amos, Ibuka, Higgins, and Burton. Amos, Ibuka, Higgins, and Burton are off the board.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Buffalo does?
Probably still no D tackle available. I see Walter Nolan went recently.
Well, on this simulator, those guys don't even don't look. That's where Walter Nolan's going.
Yeah,
that's as far as he drops.
Can you show me the big board then again? Just best available altogether. I mean, Jahar Campbell is there. It's not like they don't really need linebacker. I think they just, you must know, with Matt Milano, kind of weird how they cut his deal in half, basically. So let's just do it. Let's have some fun. I'm going to put Jahar Campbell there.
Okay.
Not exactly sure what to do year one with him. Maybe as a pass specialist because he has that background as a former edge rusher. And then maybe next year, if they move on from Milano, they can plug him in there.
Okay. So, Bill, we'll put you on the clock for Buffalo.
All right. So
how are you processing this?
So there's 5 things that I'm looking at here. Obviously, defensive line, interior defensive line, defensive tackle depth. Corner, obviously, is another key that I'm going to look at as well for Buffalo. Wide receiver is another one. The fourth one's probably the sneakiest, and we'll see if it plays out first, and it's safety. Just because DeMar Hamlin has that one, and he is there. So I'm going to throw you a curve, Jim. You're going to hate it, but he is my number 1 rated safety on my big board. Give me Xavier Watts from Notre Dame as a DeMar Hamlin replacement.
He would fit perfect.
I don't hate it. Definitely don't hate the player. I have a hard time piecing the mock draft puzzle pieces together between defensive tackle and corner in round 2 when safety goes first, but I don't hate the player. I don't hate the player. Don't hate the pick.
Yep. So let's take a look at defensive tackle and let's see what we've got working in the middle. And I'm going to go with Jim. You read my mind. You listen to me entirely too much. My number 2 overall defensive tackle, first round graded. Give me Alfred Collins, who is pound for pound the best run defender in this entire class. He will plug every hole like he is throwing corks in the side of the Titanic.
Yeah. So I may throw shots at any one of the other podcasters and Draft Professor, but even when I throw shots at you, I am still listening to you and I still respect you. So the fact that I know when, for example, when Bill's on the clock, which person he's going to pick, I guess we've just been doing this for 6 straight months. Right?
Yeah, we have. We've been doing it that long. So it's fun because I would love to go corner, but I have a little more faith in Benford and Jackson than most people do.
So what is your corner board at pick 30? Who's in your range here?
So if we're looking at that range, obviously the next available corner for me is Jade Barron at 29, but he's probably long gone in your
He's long gone.
simulator.
Yep.
Savone Revel at 36th overall on my big board
Well
would be the next available corner, which I would be all for Revel. But I want to have a little fun with this one. Let me take a look at the running back board out of sheer curiosity.
You stole my idea. I was going to do the same
And he
thing.
is there. If he makes it to the Bills, I think they're going to punt on James Cook and take Omarion Hampton and just let him walk.
Mhm.
Not for 50 million like he wants.
Yeah. No, I think they're just going to let him walk. I don't see Hampton making it there. I honestly, in my mock 5.0, he doesn't get out of the top 10, but I could see it. And of course, I have to go wide receiver. I have to go with my top number 1 overall wide receiver and a top 15 player in this class. It's Luther Burden. And with my 5th one, we're going to see if he makes it there. But my 16th overall player, my number 3 wide receiver in this class, give me the Stanford standout, Elikai Manor.
Yep. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, getting some different options and different input. And so one of my inspirations for creating Draft Professor was like when you get into Bill's content creation, they tend to zero in on players and they don't cover, like we've already covered, I think between Bill and Halil, I think maybe only one player was common between the two of you. I'm liking you're breaking whatever stigma was in my head. You're already breaking it. So EJ, what are your thoughts with Buffalo as your board sits?
It's a lot of areas y'all can go because you got areas of need, and then you also got areas where you got to look towards the future, not just next year. Because you got a lot of guys that's coming up on their final year of their contract. So, take me to safety. What does the safety board look like?
Watts, Makuba, Winston.
Okay. And what does the running back board look like?
Hampton, Henderson, Judkins, Johnson.
Oh my God. Yeah. So we're staying here. Yeah. Omarion Hampton. James Cook wants more money. If they work out a deal with him, fine. Then you got a dynamic 1-2 punch. If they don't work out with him, with a deal with him, you have a capable replacement. I mean, that's just this money in the bank right there. Next one. Take me to the. All right, those. Usually, that same group of corners is always going to be there. What does wide receiver look like?
Higgins, Igbuka, Io Manor, Trey Harris.
Jaden Higgins would catch 90 passes from Josh Allen. Give me Jaden Higgins. He
just constant go balls, right? EJ?
Yes. Jaden's down there somewhere. Just throw it.
Yeah.
Now, all right. Now we can address corner. Trey Amos. I had this thought. I know for a fact they had this thought when they drafted Kaiir Elam. They had this thought of maybe transitioning to playing a little bit more man coverage on defense, but they wanted Kaiir Elam to do both, but he didn't really have that ability. I still think they want to be more balanced with their man zone coverage. Trey Amos can do both of them, and I think he would be an excellent fit right there.
So if Hampton, Higgins, and Amos are off the board, what do you think they do?
Next, what does the edge rusher look like? I know they signed
Joey Princely, and Izaraku dropped.
Scourton. I know they signed Joey Bosa, but you can't count on his health at this point in his career. Now I want Emmanuel Worry to fall, but I don't think he is going to.
Well, and it's interesting because yesterday they were complaining that Worry. So yesterday we did from 25 to 28. And they were complaining yesterday that Worry was falling into that range. They actually complained that he was falling. So they kept taking him. So, but at this point, Warrior right now is going before, or is he really there?
Oh wow, he went to 4. Yeah, he
14.
went to 14.
Okay.
All right.
14.
Yeah. So I would go. What does what does the safety board look like? Because I may.
Watts, Makuba, Winston.
We know Watts works there. All right. Yeah, let's go Xavier Watts because he's an excellent fit for what they do. I think
Turned to love on it.
Mhm.
Okay, so Hampton, Higgins,
mhm.
Amos, Scourton, Watts. So I will go ahead and talk through my thoughts for Buffalo. So for me, this is really down to 4 positions. It would be defensive tackle, corner, edge, wide receiver. One of the challenges with Buffalo is that any wide receiver that we draft, I don't think he's going to come in and be one of the top 5 targets.
Mhm.
Right between Shakir, Coleman, Kincaid,
Mhm.
those guys are getting, even though it's everybody eats, no rookie's going to be in the top 3. And then I would even argue between like a Curtis Samuel,
Mhm.
the guy we just signed from the Chargers. I'm already forgetting his last name.
Oh, Josh
Josh
Palmer.
Palmer.
Josh Palmer. Yeah.
Palmer. Like, okay, maybe a rookie competes with Palmer for targets,
Mhm.
but I'm like, do you use a first round resource on that?
Mhm.
Like, I agree we need a receiver. But the only receiver that I would even consider is Golden because he's a downfield separator. Right? Buffalo's issue with wide receivers, we can't beat press man.
Mhm.
Kind of thing. So I believe that Brandon Beane drafts for upside, and that's Revel. Relative to I think Amos is the safe pick, and I think that's why Bills Mafia likes him. I think Amos comes in with a higher floor, Revel comes in with a higher ceiling.
Mhm.
So I'm going Revel. I would do Revel over Amos. In addition to that, let's see if Benjamin Morrison is here. If Morrison's here,
Mhm.
he should be the pick. So I would go Revel and Morrison, both of them over Amos. Right? So Amos is still on the board to the best of my knowledge.
Mhm.
And I'm still not picking him because I would rather have Tyleek Williams than Trey Amos.
Okay.
We need the defensive tackle presence in the middle.
Mhm.
I don't believe that the top 7 defensive tackles make it to 56. So to me, in the draft, there is a huge talent gap between Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon,
Mhm.
Tyleek Williams, Alfred Collins, Darius Alexander, and Walter Nolan.
Mhm.
Those are the top 7 defensive tackles. If those 7 are off the board, the next defensive tackle Buffalo would be considering is Joshua Farmer, probably.
Mhm.
And that's round 3. So, the gap there is
Mhm.
why I'm also going to say I'm taking Alfred Collins over Amos and Burton,
Mhm.
right? Because now I would love to be able to get either of those guys in a small trade back. But if you have to stick and pick, you go with the defensive tackles. And then if I have to choose between Golden and Amos, I'm actually choosing Golden. Give me the downfield separator over Amos. That's what I would do. That's not what Brandon Beane's going to do, but that's what I would do. Brandon Beane's not drafting Golden. I already know that. He's going to go. He would have gone Amos probably with that last option there. Not a lot of A pluses there, but sometimes that's just the way that it goes. So, Bill, we'll put you on the board for the Chiefs first.
Ooh.
What are you thinking?
So obviously the popular pick is the Chiefs needed an offensive line, offensive tackle. Speaking with Bryce Carter, one of the other draft professors, I am not going anywhere near the offensive line with any of these 5 selections.
Mhm.
I am going to start on the defensive line. I'm going to start on the defensive interior. And I'm going to go Alfred Collins, my number 2 overall defensive tackle. Might be higher than what some people have him, but I think that's a great selection, a top 15 pick for me. The next selection I'm gonna go wide receiver, because obviously the receivers they have, we don't know what we're getting in Rashee Rice.
Mhm.
Xavier Worthy in his second year, is he gonna go through a sophomore slump? Give me Alec Io Manor from Stanford. And then after that, I'm going to add some edge depth, because, yes, I have Karlaftis, but I don't have much behind him, depending on how you feel about Dana and Felix. I'm going to go with Nick Scorton here. Again, my top 5 player. And then I'm going to double back on edge, depending on who is available. And I'm going to go with Princely Unman Mielen here, my 6th overall edge. And then for the final need, I'm gonna have a little bit of fun and with this one, and I'm gonna take a look at the running back room.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna take Omarion Hampton there, because Kareem
What
Hunt's
are you
on his
doing
last
here?
legs. Give me Hampton and Pacheco in that backfield, and Patrick Mahomes is just as
See-
happy as a clam.
I love it. That looks like my high school report card.
Mine too.
Okay, EJ, we'll put you on the clock for the Chiefs. What are you thinking?
All right, so they got a couple of needs. First, I'm gonna do what Bill did. First off, right off the bat, I'm gonna look at that running back room.
Yep. So
It's a thing, right?
Hampton is
Yeah.
not popular
Yeah.
on the simulator, so he's there's a reason he's dropping, right? So
Mhm. Yeah, but I'm not going to Marion Hampton.
Oh, nearly too quick again.
I'm going Travion Henderson, and this is because Andy Reid likes to throw to his running backs. He's been looking for his Brian Westbrook for years now. He thought he had it in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he likes to throw to his running backs. He likes using his running backs as decoys in the passing game. Travion Henderson has that type of upside. He will bring a new dynamic to that Chiefs offense. They got speed on the outside to clear out all this space to work underneath. Kelsey is getting a little bit long in the tooth, so you need somebody that's going to want to attack that middle. Andy Reid with a receiving running back can do wonders. So first one, Travion Henderson. Next, I'm looking at give me a defensive tackle. You want somebody to go with
Collins, Williams, Sanders. Do any of you have Sanders high enough to take at 31?
Not quite. He's my. I think he's number 6 for me among the tackles, but around like middle of the second round.
I mean, I like him as a player. He'd be an ideal trade down guy, because I really wouldn't want to take him in the first. But see, Spags likes guys. He wants to attack. All right, yeah, I'm gonna go.
And there was a reason I was picking Sanders.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Give me TJ Sanders, because Spags likes to attack. He likes to move his guys around. I can see him putting TJ Sanders on the edge every now and then just to get a little spicy.
Yep.
All
So
right.
I like this. We're coming up with some new ideas here. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. So they need corners. They need another corner. Because I think they signed Christian Fulton, but I'm not in love with that. So, do we want to wait? Can they? Well, I mean, they signed Christian Fulton. He's not long term, so they can wait on Savon Revel. Yeah, give me Savon Revel. They can wait a year to get him up to speed, and like the upside is there.
It looks like Morrison is dropping right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Henderson, Sanders, Revel are off the board.
Michael Williams is off the board. All right, let's see.
Morrison's there.
Yeah.
So is Burden.
The Burden. And that's the thing. I comp Luther Burden to Rashee Rice, because he's just a more athletic version. You watch him, like, he works that middle. Give me Luther Burden. Because if the Rashee Rice thing doesn't work out, you got a more dynamic player that can serve the exact same purpose. And next, All right. Josh Simmons. He probably needs a year to get it together, but they need help on that tackle. And they got a bunch of young guys. Throw him in with those young guys and let them all grow together. I don't think he's going to have a huge impact year one, but I think they got time to wait on him.
Okay. Halil, you are up for Kansas City. What is your thought process here?
Yeah, so I talked with Price recently as well. Him telling me about how the Chiefs are probably not going to go line, but I'm not going to ignore it here, just with the history of Andy Reid generally, and a guy signing someone like Jalen Moore is not going to keep me from getting the top guy off the board, top guy on the boards if I have somebody available there. And even just getting the quality stars on the left side, even if there's a competition, you start with somebody at guard with last year's second rounder Kingsley Suamataia. I think you can definitely find somebody here who starts out there potentially, and if you like getting him out there, so Calvin Banks is the one staring me in the face here. I personally have Connell, like I already said, just a tad higher, but they're very much in the same tier, and I think Banks gives you that guard flexibility to start off. So I'm going to go with him here.
Okay, so if Banks is off the board, what do you think the Chiefs will do?
So, do you want to open wide receivers real quick for me? Yeah, so I have Ekbuka a little bit higher, but I already mentioned Jaden Higgins from Iowa State as more of the traditional X receiver because they don't have anyone I feel comfortable with playing on the ball necessarily. And with Travis Kelce, where you just mentioned him, EJ, kind of showing his age at this point, they don't do it really more where they keep him on the backside that they used to do for longer stretches, isolate him there at that X receiver spot in the backside of the formation. I think Higgins can be that type of guy. And so I'm going to pick him here. I think that's a match I like quite a bit.
Okay, so if Banks and Higgins are off the board, what do you think the Chiefs would do?
Yeah, it's another one that Josh Simmons, if he's on the board, I already talked about number 2 tackle, even with the injury, you obviously have to be comfortable with where he is medically and what he projects him to be long term, but he has a chance to be the top tackle out of this class altogether.
Okay, so Banks, Higgins, Simmons are off the board. What do you think the Chiefs would do?
So let's just check at the interior D-line. I don't think one of the guys that I feel comfortable with is available. You guys mentioned TJ Sanders. One of those guys, I heard the guys on the NFL Stock Exchange pod, they gave him a different name. They said he's kind of lower because he is kind of a boring name, and they're calling him a Bull Rush McIntyre instead. Kind of pop up the names, so I like that quite a bit. But I think I'm going to look on the edge instead maybe here, because I think the value is a bit better there. And I'm going to, a guy that we haven't really mentioned yet, give me Braden Swinson from LSU. A bit of a big edge rusher, someone who can win with speed to power, compress the pocket, more of that style that they like in Kansas City there. And I have him in Scorton basically right in the same tier. So as those early second rounders, but I don't mind maybe keep picking him a couple of spots earlier here.
Okay.
And then
so if Banks, Higgins, Simmons, and Swinson are off the board, what do you think the Chiefs do?
I mean, Luther Burden would be a fun one. But I'm gonna follow with Savon Revel because as we talked about, one of the guys with the highest potential and somebody I think Spags would really like once he gets his technique down as a press corner who can really ball the receivers, disrupt them with the line of scrimmage. I think he projects as someone who could be a standout performer in the defense.
Okay, so I will go up for the Chiefs, and I definitely want to give a shout out to Price. Like, it's nice having draft professors from the different teams to give us their perspective on the team needs. Bill does it for the Browns. EJ, you do it for the Eagles. Several people do it for the Bills. It's nice having Price around to tell us about the Chiefs. My immediate thought here is to help out Patrick Mahomes. And that would include any of the wide receivers. So I would definitely say getting a true X like Isle Manor makes a
Mhm.
lot of sense. And then I do like the shout out where you guys were saying Omarion Hampton, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
So running back there, so adding to the offensive skill positions.
Yep.
Do any of you have Mason Taylor high enough to take at the back of round one?
No, I got
I
him
don't-
in second.
Yeah, I say I don't
Early
have him high enough, but I would take him in round one
Mhm.
just
I
because
think
I.
he kind of sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say he profiles a little bit like Kelsey as someone who very easy movement skills. He's not as athletic as Kelsey was early in his career, but what you're getting from Kelsey at this point, I don't think it's too far off someone who can work his way open on the scramble drill with Pat, kind of what he's doing all the time, pitch and catch with Kelsey on third downs when he has to move around the pocket, kind of breaking down where he finds his openings in the spots, those spots in the zone coverage. I think Taylor makes sense there.
Yeah, and he's my 39th overall player, my tight end 3, and play style wise, I comp him a lot to Jason Witten, and what Witten did for Tony Romo, Taylor can do for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Not the blocker, but in terms of a receiver, I can definitely see it there.
And I think it should also be pointed out that, like, okay, the grade of the player at 31, we're generally dealing with either a round 1-2 grade or a round 2 grade.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And I think we have a high amount of confidence that Mason Taylor is not dropping to pick 63.
No,
So if the Chiefs want him,
you got to get him now.
they either got to get him here or they have to do a small trade back,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there would even be a reasonable conversation that does Taylor go at 32 to
Yeah.
the Eagles?
Totally.
So they're not the only team competing for his services.
Mm-hmm.
If Luther Burden drops, like, how do the Chiefs keep getting players like that? So Isle Manor, Hampton, Taylor, Burden off the board. No, for there. Izaraku dropped.
Mhm.
I'm going to take him. So again, it looks like my high school report card.
Hmm.
There was 1A, Mom. Mom, I got 1A. Why are you always talking about all the C's? I did get 1A.
Hey, C's get degrees around here at the Draft Professor.
They do. They do. And if you're not familiar with the grading at the Draft Professor, the more people agree with you, the better your grades are. So the fact that was B's and C's, it just means nobody agrees with me. And I don't go through
Who
life
says
with,
they are right?
yep. So I'm going to do the Eagles first, and EJ, we're going to put you on the clock for the Eagles last, so you can tell
Okay.
us all how wrong we are. So my thoughts for the Eagles would be tight end, edge, and then just look for good players that drop. And if there's a good player from Georgia that drops, probably rank them highest.
Yeah. That's about right.
So I'm looking. I was looking at edge to see if Izaraku was there, but he is not. I do see Princely, and now I'm trying. Okay, so now I have to remember. EJ did his podcast on the Fangio fits.
Mm-hmm.
Was Princely one of the edges?
No.
No.
He would fit because he's more of a stand-up outside rusher, so he would fit though.
Okay. So we'll go with Princely there. I will do. You can see Tyleek Williams has been mock drafted to the Eagles before, so I'm definitely going to do Tyleek. That seems to make sense, and I got at least 1A plus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take a look at the wide receiver board real quickly. But I don't know that, like, that doesn't, like, I wouldn't be surprised if any of those top 3 guys are the picks, but the Eagles have two really good receivers under contract. So
Mhm.
it's not a huge need. So if the right player drops, I could see him doing it, but not with the way that one fell. If Scourton's there, well, so it needs to be the edge that drops into coverage. Because I remember from when you and Cole were doing the Fangio, that's not Scourton.
But he could fit too because
He did some at Purdue.
yeah,
he did drop into coverage when he
Okay.
that was at 6'3", 240. He could drop in a linebacker spot.
Yep, and I know for a fact the Eagles like him.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, so then another one. So Maxwell Hairston was invited to the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, so when I saw that, I'm like, okay, so there's got to be a team that's somewhere between Green Bay and Philly
Yep.
that have said, you know, he has a high enough grade that we would take him if he's there. So I am taking Maxwell Hairston to the Eagles at corner.
Yep.
My understanding is the Eagles have two starting corners, but I believe at least one of them is going to be an expiring contract.
No, they cut Darius Slay. They got Quinyon Mitchell, who they drafted last year. They cut Darius Slay, so it's a hole at the other cornerback position. They get penciled in as a starter is Keely Ringo from 2 years ago, 2022 draft. He's okay, but they don't want to hand anything to him. If there's a better player there, they at least want to challenge him. And as far as Maxwell Hairston goes, the Eagles just had him in for a top 30 visit. So there's interest.
Okay. Okay. And then I am going to go Alfred Collins from Texas. Now I'm trying to remember. So they have Jordan Davis, his rookie deal is about to go into the 5th-year option, right?
They did not pick up his 5th-year option.
No.
Yep. So I'm going to go Alfred Collins. So Princely, Tyleek, Scourton, Hairston, Collins.
Mm-hmm.
If you stick with the trenches, there's probably a good chance that Howie's going to pick one of them.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so Halil, we'll put you on the clock for the Eagles. What is your thought process?
Well, literally, first thing I put down here, a couple notes. Eagles, they always want to invest in the trenches. So if any of the big-time guys make it here on offense or defense, I think that's definitely what they will be looking at first here. So we haven't really talked about the interior line. If you want to show me what we got going on there right now. I think you can make a case for Jackson or Booker, but I think Booker, especially with the replacement of Mekhi Becton, they plug him at right guard, where he's going to be competing with his former teammate Tyler Steen, who played tackle at Alabama, but is probably going to move inside this season if they don't find somebody. I think with Booker, I think that's just a layup at that spot. Not perfect tape. He's always going to be better in a phone booth than on a track. But in terms of what they ask their guys to do to maul people on gap schemes and stuff like that too, I think that makes a lot of sense.
So Booker is off the board. What are you thinking, Halil?
So I'm going to keep in mind Jackson here. I could potentially come back to him. I think defensively, as we've already mentioned, I think they'd love someone like a Walter Nolan as a penetration style play up front in the rotation, the replacement of Milton Williams. He's basically a lock for the first round at this point, it seems like. And at this point, he's off the board, as far as I'm aware. So I think a bigger edge like a Nick Scorton or Braden Swinson would make a lot of sense as someone who can convert speed to power in the mold of what they just lost with Josh Sweat.
So do you want Swinson?
Yeah, look, let's go with Swinson here.
Okay.
Good. And
so if Booker and Swinson are off the board, Scourton just dropped.
Well, that's one I definitely will keep in mind. I like the Hairston shout out because they play so much quarters with the ability to click and close and routes in front of him. He's one of the best in the class at doing that. And that makes a lot of sense. as that Darius Slay replacement. You mentioned Keely Ringo. I think you have Dory Jackson they brought in on a small veteran deal. Do you like what's the UDFA called? Also out of Alabama a couple of years ago, Eli Ricks,
Mm-hmm.
and another guy who did play I think a couple of years ago. He got some more time, but not really a long-term solution. So Hairston's definitely one I'll keep in mind. You know, show me real quick the interior or if the tackle is a tackle available as well.
You want
Sorry, I meant
offensive tackle or defensive
tackle?
tackle?
Yeah, offensive tackle. Sorry for that.
Simmons is
Ah.
here.
God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's change that. I don't think Simmons is going to be here, but let's change it up a bit with Josh Connolly from Oregon.
Ooh.
He's my number 3 tackle right there with Calvin Banks. I think I'm on the big board. I have him a couple of spots ahead, and so we don't forget about him.
Okay. And then if Booker, Swinson, Hairston, and Connerly are off the board, what do you think they do?
Yeah, I think I'm going to follow you with Hairston. It's not like he's my top corner available, but I think the schematic thing makes a lot of sense. And now with him and
Hairston's already been taken.
Oh, he's been taken. Oh, sorry, he's been taken already. Okay. So what's the corner board looking like right now then? Okay,
there's no SEC corners.
Where the Georgia players? Where the damn Georgia players here? Malik Stark's available. Malachi Stark, sorry. No, then I think we're going back to the edge, and I think Scorton very much also profiles as one of those guys that they would like.
Okay, so Booker, Swinson, Hairston, Connerly, Scourton. Bill.
People are getting scared off with Booker because of the testing.
Bill, what are your thoughts for the Eagles?
So what do you get the team that has everything, right? It's the question we ask ourselves with Philly. Obviously, I'm not sold on Jahan Dotson, and even then he's a free agent after next season anyway. I also am looking in the trenches just because that's the way Howie Roseman has built. My first pick's going to go a little bit off the beaten path. So EJ, don't kill me now. But he has a first round grade for me at the offensive line spot. Actually, I think you have him. Yes. Give me Jonas Sabanea at either right guard for Tyler Steen or as a backup right tackle for Lane Johnson when Matt Pryor eventually moves on, because he's got 4 void years in the back end of that deal. I don't see him here long-term in Philly, but he could be. The second one, I'm going to go to wide receiver, because again, I talked about it. I'm not sold on Jahan Dotson. Yes, they have AJ Brown. Yes, they have Devonta Smith in the slot, but give me a big body guy who blocks to get the rock, Alec Manor, the best run blocking wide receiver in this class. From there, I'm gonna do it if he's available. Let's take a look at tight end. Like I talked about, Mason Taylor, he is my 39th overall player. I would feel comfortable taking him at 32nd overall. And let's take a look at the trenches. Let's start with edge. And I'm going to go with Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. Like I said, he's coming in at about 260. You could easily have him drop to 240, drop him back in coverage like he did at Purdue, or keep him at 260 with his hand in the dirt. My fifth and final player, it's a little high. He had a lot of hype coming into this season, but he's 20 years old. He can be used very effectively by smart play callers, especially in a Shanahan level scheme, especially in certain West Coast style schemes. Give me Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green. And there's a lot of smoke about Fannin going in round 1. I've heard it over the past couple of days. It's starting to pick back up. Yes, he runs very awkwardly. It's almost like a penguin waddle when he runs. But you cannot deny the man's production against lower level and higher level competition. And I just think he would be a guy that the Eagles would find a way to make work, especially at the tight end spot.
Okay, so EJ,
Mm-hmm.
the resident Eagles fan of this podcast, you are on the clock.
All right.
Who is the best player available in your eyes with the way this board is falling?
All right. So I mean, we all know how he starts with the trenches. So let's look at defensive tackle. Tyleik Williams is a guy. I'm not picking him yet. But Tyleik Williams is a guy they just had in for a top 30 visit. So I know they like him there along with TJ Sanders. What does the edge look like? Princely. Yeah, see.
Princely, Swinson.
Yeah. See, me personally, I like Swinson. I would take him there, but I know they won't do it. What does the last position I want to look at? What does cornerback look like? Pretty much the same name, same names.
Hairston, Revel. Revel doesn't go to an SEC school, so I don't know if the Eagles would take
Yeah,
it.
they might. Yeah, no. All right, so I'm looking at corner, edge, and defensive tackle. Of those three positions, the trenches take priority from between defensive line, defensive tackle, and edge rusher. I think the best player is Tyleik Williams, so I'm gonna take Tyleik Williams there.
Okay, so a way to think about doing a first round challenge is somebody traded up to take Tyleik Williams.
Mm-hmm.
He's not there for you anymore.
No,
so
he's
what are you
gone.
going to do?
So I'm going to look at what does my tight end room look like? What is this? Same name.
Mason Taylor is there.
Okay, Mason Taylor is there. What does interior guard, offensive guard look like? Donovan Jackson. Donovan Jackson, another player. Him and Sabanea, those are two guys the Eagles had in Philly for a top 30 visit. Give me Donovan Jackson. Plug and play right there at right guard, or he can compete for right guard.
Okay, so somebody traded up to get Tyleik Williams, and they traded up to get Donovan Jackson. So what does the board look like?
Eventually I'm going to get the Nick Scorton, but I want to see what does the cornerback room if anybody dropped. So if somebody traded up to them, somebody had to drop.
I like the way that your brain thinks. That's exactly how I was thinking when I designed this algorithm.
Yeah. All right. So what does offensive tackle look like?
So let's just do a quick check here for Morrison. Yeah. So Morrison is here.
Right there. Yeah. Okay. Okay. What does offensive tackle look like?
Ursery, Connerly.
They had Connerly in for a visit as well, but I'm not in love with Connerly. I think he needs to get stronger. I think he needs like a good year. Malachi Starks didn't fall. I'm pretty sure Malachi Starks didn't fall. Yeah, no.
Xavier Watts is there.
Yeah. All right. So edge, Nick Scorton.
Okay, so Tyleik, Donovan Jackson, Nick Scourton, all off the board.
Off the board. All right. Now we got Hairston at corner. That's probably going to be the pick. But what does – see, I want to go Mason Taylor. I'm pretty sure he is there. And I like Elijah Arroyo too. You know what? All right. Take me back to corner. I'm going Matthew Harrison because somebody's going to take if somebody takes Mason Taylor, I can still get Elijah Arroyo in the second round.
Okay, so Tyleik Williams, Donovan Jackson, Nick Scourton, Maxwell Hairston are all off the board right here.
Yep. So that means Ezra fell, Ezra Thomas, Josh Simmons fell, Matthew Golden fell. Shoot. And all right. Oh, Mario Hampton fell.
Let's just go Barkley and Hampton. Let's just run the ball 90 times a game.
Yes.
Josh Simmons did too.
Yeah, Josh Simmons fell. All right. Matthew Golden. I mean, they don't utilize the third receiver. That's mainly like a Jalen Hurts thing. He doesn't like throwing in the middle a lot, but the more weapons you got, the better. And Jahan Dotson probably is going to be out of here. They did just sign Terrace Marshall, but I don't think he really moves the needle. And Matthew Golden would be he could be that slot guy. He could be that outside guy. I mean, he's a versatile weapon. He fit perfectly in this offense. I'll take him.
Yeah, cool. So why don't we take a moment and pause and introduce ourselves to the people that are watching? So EJ, would you like to take a few minutes, introduce yourself, and let everybody know what kind of content you make and where they can find it?
Yeah, everybody. I'm EJ. I do film breakdowns pretty much on X. I also do scouting reports for the Rogue APC draft guide. That's out now. Everybody go check that out. Go to rogueapc.com. Pretty much what my content is pretty much what I see on film. No fluff, no filter, no hot takes, no clickbait, no rage bait, none of that. But pretty much what I do, what players fit, what scheme, everything football related. My whole motto is I back up everything I say with film. So don't argue with me, argue with the film. But if you like that type of stuff, go to X, check it out, and give me a follow.
You've got a fan. So do you know Joe Blacko?
Joe Blacko, the bearded goat.
I like that.
I can take that.
I like that. Leo.
Yeah, so as always, HelloFootballTalk.com is where you can find all of my content. I've got positional breakdowns, every single position, top 10, plus a couple of honorable mentions. I've got a My Guys episode on YouTube. I think that's my last video where I talk about some guys that I like better than consensus. And I've got my mock draft coming out next Monday, most likely, so 3 days before the draft, along with my big board that's coming out Friday. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do 150, 200 players. I'm way beyond that number for now, but it kind of gets tough to stack everybody up at some point across different positions. But yeah, either that or on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, at Hello's FB Talk, and on Instagram, it's at Hello's Football Talk. Same on YouTube, and yeah, just drop me a follow. And I do a lot of X's and O's analysis as we get closer to the NFL season again. And then during the season as well, some stuff that I see best plays of the week, where kind of schematically some stuff that stood out to me, and along with just off-season coverage. So I've got something coming out either in written form or in video form, basically every week.
Cool. And Bill, good to see you on a Wednesday.
Good to see you on a Wednesday, Jim. So yeah, you can find my content over on X at Spark Scouting, and I've got it all from NFL to NFL Draft. I do little snippets on players, comps. I am the comp king somewhat here at the Draft Professor. My 2025 big board has over 425 players graded, comped, and sorted. Also a writer and analyst for the Right Way Sports Network. That's TWSN.net. Had a Shedeur Sanders piece come out today as well as my mock draft 5.0 drop this week, final one of the 2025 cycle, as I begin the grind into 2026 with a big board of already 250 plus players. And you can catch me here on Wednesday nights on the Mrs. Are Relevant podcast with a whole cast and cavalcade of characters like Jim, Halil, EJ, everyone here. If we haven't already said it enough, we want to thank Jim for giving us this platform to be able to come on and talk ball with you guys every single week. So make sure you reciprocate that thank you by liking this video on YouTube, turning on that notification bell so you get notified of the daily draft content we put out here. Make sure you drop a comment. Tell us how much you like it, how much you hate it. Tag your friends, tag your family, tag your enemies. Tag that one person from 7th grade that you disagreed with on a football take and rekindle that relationship. And just make sure that you follow everybody here. Make sure you go try out draftprofessor.com, Jim's mock draft simulator. It's the best one out there. Hands down. Can't beat it. 5 stars, 10 stars. I was not paid for this advertisement, by the way. So, Jim, I'll turn it back over to you before we get out of here.
Yeah, we had a 7th grade football take. So for everybody, if you want to figure out how old I am, 7th grade for me was the 85 Bears.
Ooh. Sheesh.
So that tells you how old I am. But I remember that team. I remember some of those 7th grade football takes. But yeah, as Bill said, humbled. We are Bill and I and a few others. We're 6 months deep into this. It's amazing what we started in October to where we are now. My mind is blown. But you can follow the channel at NFL Draft Fanatic. No, I am Fanatic. And it's the same on X and YouTube. The best thank you can do is to hit subscribe on YouTube if you have not already done so. Hitting the subscribe, hitting the like, definitely help more people find our content. So please and thank you. We have daily draft content coming your way. It's not going to stop after the draft. It's just going to change a little bit. But right up until the draft, we're going to be doing a lot of what you see here. First round scenarios as people get their final evaluations of players. And hopefully when you come to the simulator, you're going to start to see new things because new players are going to be going in round 1, and that drives up the randomness. So definitely appreciative of everybody that has tried it. It blows me away that 13,000 people have already done mock drafts on it this draft cycle. Again, blows me away. So with that being said, I do have a couple questions for you guys. As we were going through the first round challenges, I don't know that we had done a podcast like this. I think, Bill, I showed you this functionality a long time ago, but we hadn't actually done it where our boards were finished. So EJ, what did you think of the exercise?
Oh, I liked it. It was fun. It gives you I like the fact that you can't pick the same player twice because the second you pick one player, it takes it away from you. So it forces you to think outside the box and analyze different positions. So
thank you. Halil, how about you? What did you think?
Yeah, I can only second that. Definitely fun experience and kind of that exercise where you see how everything shakes up. How do I prioritize different needs for different teams? How does it match up with my boards? How does everything make sense? And then go a bit off the beaten path as well, where you can kind of surprise some people if you're in an exercise like this with some people that you'll like sharing your opinions with. And definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah. So Bill, how about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna triple down on it. A very fun exercise, gives you the ability to rate your board against other folks' boards. But it also puts you in the shoes of an NFL GM. Most GMs on draft night, they're not looking to just take one guy. They've got 5 or 6 guys that they've got their eye on. And if they're there at pick 32 or pick 2, they're going to take them, but they're going to rank the value of those 5 players against each other. And that's exactly what the first round challenge does, is it ranks those 5 against each other, and it ranks your 5 against other folks' 5.
Yeah. And I think for a draft class like this, what I found interesting is okay, which corners do you have graded here? Which offensive tackles do you have graded here? And I could even tell just from listening to you guys that not everybody had the same offensive tackles graded the same way, for example. So I like just being able to have multiple people compare their boards relative to a scheme fit. Because it's one thing to say he's tackle 3 for me, he's tackle 7 for somebody else. But it's another thing to say, well, even if he's tackle 7 for me, he is the scheme fit here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's part of the draft process. He might be lower on your board, but you still see the scheme fit. And I definitely like that aspect of this podcast. In addition, when this was designed, when I had the concept in my head to do a first round challenge, it was to do a podcast just like we did here. So if any of you go on to your own podcasts or whatever, and you try this, and maybe it's easier to do if you only have 2 people on the podcast or whatever, let me know what you think, or if there's a way to make it shinier or better or whatever, definitely let me know. But with that being said, we have been going here for almost 80 minutes straight. For Bill, Halil, EJ, myself, what are we at now? 70 podcasters.
Yeah.
We are growing, everybody. It's getting big. So for all of us, thank you for watching, and we will see you on a podcast again tomorrow.
Thanks.